Hey everybody, Card Bandit here. What I want to go over right now is something called the LePaul spread. It looks like that. Now, this move is actually going to be really tricky to do if you don't have a lot of hand strength or if you haven't built up your hand strength yet. So I just want to say that if you are trying out this move and it starts out choppy, don't be discouraged. It's just going to take a little while for you to build up the hand strength in order to do this move, because what you're going to be doing is bending the whole deck. Alright, that being said, let's get into the move now. So like I said, what you're going to be doing is bending the whole deck, but let's get into the grip. So you're going to have all four fingers along the one long edge, and your thumb and this side is going to be along the pad of your thumb. The front part of the cards are going to be jutting out a little bit from the crotch of your thumb, as the cards aren't fully in a mechanics grip, they're slightly forward. So imagine you have a regular mechanics grip, and then you move the cards forward and just place your index finger along the side. And that's pretty much where the LePaul spread happens. Now you're going to have a little bit of elevation. You'll notice there's a slight gap in my hand there, and that's to allow for the cards to bend. So it's going to be held at the tip of your fingers to start with that slight gap. So let's get into the receiving hand. If you know how to do a two-handed spread, it's going to be easier. But what happens with the LePaul spread is you're going to have your thumb on top, the receiving hand's thumb goes on top, the other fingers, as the cards are shot out, the other fingers come underneath and grip. Now keep in mind, as the spread goes across, you're not going to be gripping all the cards, because that would result in a much smaller spread. You're going to have the cards spread out, and they'll support each other right where the hands aren't meeting, is where the cards will actually support themselves. However, if you go out too far with your spread, you'll notice the cards are starting to break apart, and that's because they can no longer support themselves in the spread. So that's essentially what happens. Your thumb comes along the top at the back part of the deck. As the cards are shot out, your other fingers curl underneath to support. Let's talk about this hand now, the one that's applying the pressure. So what you're going to do is you're going to bend the cards. Now to bend the whole deck of cards, you're going to push in with your fingers and just sort of collapse your thumb. So this part's pushing in, as well as your fingers pushing in as well. So that creates the bow in the deck. And that's the hardest part of the LePaul spread, really. It's to just being able to bow the deck and then release the pressure evenly. To help the bow, you might want that thumb that's going to be receiving the cards can actually help bend the cards into your palm. If you're having a lot of trouble with the full deck, and you want to build up your hand strength, you can start with a smaller portion of the deck. To get into the pressure, like I said, you're going to be bending the cards into your hand. Now to release the pressure, what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze and start by dragging out with the thumb. What dragging out with the thumb will do is it starts the cards going that way, and the rest will follow. Because you notice if I squeeze the deck, hardly anything happens until I drag the thumb across. Now the other thing that's going to happen is your fingers are going to end up straight. This will allow the cards to actually come out from underneath and slide around. So you squeeze with your fingers, but as you keep squeezing, you'll notice that the thumb actually pushes over and your fingers end up straight. So you start your grip like this, and then you end up like this. Start like this, push over, and you'll end up with your hands similar to this position right here. And that's essentially what allows the cards to slide out from underneath one another. Now you may also notice that you release a little bit of the pressure. Instead of keeping a whole bunch of pressure to push the cards out, you do release a little bit of pressure after bowing the cards to get some air pockets into the deck. As you push over with your thumb, it's going to end up allowing the cards to really get pulled over with the thumb. So it's a mix of pressure between this hand, or the hand that's holding the deck. It's a mix of the pressure applied there and pulling the cards across with this hand. And it's going to take a lot of practice just to get that smoothly, but that's essentially how the LePaul spread works. One variation is the S LePaul spread, and that's essentially you start the LePaul spread regularly, and then you sort of shift your hand down and around to get the S. So instead of going straight out, you're going to do a little bit of out motion with this, and then you're going to bring the deck hand down and around the hand to create the S. Alright guys, that's the tips on the LePaul spread. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below, and I will catch you next time.